Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is all about the International Air Cadet Exchange. It's specifically for Canada, and I'm going to be telling my story of my experiences. If you are going to IACE, interested in going to IACE, I will also have a video in the coming weeks or months telling exactly things that I wish I would have known, the application process, going through all the details of that. But this is going to be me telling my stories. It's written on 4 pages, so we'll see how long this video is, just kind of explaining the things we did, how everything worked, what went down. So you fly into Washington, D.C. and you meet up with everyone else. And I arrived at 11 a.m. or something pretty similar to that, flying from Texas. And we had people arriving that entire day, and we just checked into like a little hotel room. And I had my hotel room completely to myself, and it was like a Jack and Jill with the person next to me, and there's 2 girls in there. So it was the 3 of us, and we kind of met, and the first time I met anyone really was at dinner. And we had dinner, and it was everyone there, and we had this class called Miss Manners, and we learned all about like how to properly eat and sit, and guys rise when someone else walks in, and the exact details and all of that. And that's really where I met all of the Canada crew, and we first started getting to know each other. So we spent 2 nights in DC, and then we were at Reagan International Airport, and we were wearing our corporate uniform. And in DC, we went to the Canadian Embassy and to the NTSB. We also used the metro for the first time for me, which was kind of fun. And then we ate some food there, kind of wandered, and just kind of had some briefings about Canada. From DC, we flew to Halifax, Nova Scotia. We had to wake up at 4:20 in the morning. And then left the hotel at 4:45, even though our flight didn't leave till 7:45, so we were at the airport super early, just exhausted. So then we arrived at 2-ish in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we met with the people from the UK, and then we headed for Shearwater Base, which is where we stayed. And my time that I went is we were in the maritime provinces, so we were in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI, whereas if you go a different year, they rotate it through different provinces and different regions of Canada, so your experiences would totally differ. There were 40 boys and 27 girls, 23 from the UK alone. We went to this coffee shop called Tim Hortons, which is a big thing in Canada, because they didn't have Wi-Fi on the base. We all hung out, well, us in the UK, and then I shared a room with Annie and Cheyenne, my favorites. The Canadians were very nice to us, and we got a goodie bag with Canadian souvenirs and stuff. Yesterday we went to the gym, and we came out at 64 degrees outside, and I walked out of the gym and I almost started crying because it was just so foggy and cold, and the air was crisp, and everything just felt so lovely. And the Brits all said that the UK was always like that, which I thought that was funny because I was having an emotional experience to it, and they were just like, this is the UK every day. And I was, yeah. And then meeting to everyone was like the most amazing part, because I remember thinking Canada, like it's basically Maine. And that's kind of what I told people as I was going, is I was just like, yeah, we're basically going to Maine. Well, as soon as you get there, you realize Canada has a completely different culture to the US, no matter where you are. And then the people, no matter where you are in IACE, I could do IACE in Texas and it'd be such an incredible experience just because of the things like we were talking about and the people. I mean, we were staying at Tim Hortons. It was me and like 6 or 7 from the UK, and just talking and talking and talking. I remember Snapchatting, and I was like, this is the most incredible thing ever. And the 20 minutes we'd been together, I was just sucked in, and I loved it. It was a long day. We woke up at 6 a.m. and left our base at 8 a.m. and we just got back and it's 9:03 p.m. So it's been a very long day. We began with an intro and then an icebreaker. It's just called an icebreaker, but I thought when writing it down, icebreaker, get it? Haha. We had built a vertical tower with spaghetti and marshmallows. It was kind of just like a GLP or something like that, just to kind of get us to bond. And it was nice because in that little bonding experience, every single person got to talk to pretty much every single person. We headed into 2 buses and then onto Citadel Hill, which is a castle-like landmark. We got a tour, heard bagpipes, and then watched the 12 p.m. cannon shot, and then headed out for Citadel's backyard to have lunch. It was box lunches, which were not too great. Then we watched a 150 celebration of Canada thing with horses, military formation drill. It was pretty cool. Then we spent 2 hours walking around downtown, and we went to Beaver Tails and Cows, which are the 2 like main they're very popular. Cows is an ice cream shop, and then Beaver Tails is like this fried pastry that like has toppings on stuff, and it's very good. Then we went to the chow hall for some dinner, although we ate at 5 p.m., which was odd. I touched with the Dutch and learned about their program, and then we took about an hour's drive to Peggy's Cove, which is a very popular tourist site, and we just hung out. It was awesome. I really enjoyed the cove. Today was very long, but very awesome. The next day, it was a good day. We all chilled and then we had some tour from 10 to 12 on the HMCS Charlotte, a Canadian naval ship. Then we went to have lunch. After lunch, we went to Pier 21, which is an immigration museum, and we learned about how Canada is such a great melting pot and how it became what it is today. Our group of people and cliques is becoming more defined, which is nice but interesting. Tonight was our last night at Shearwater, and tomorrow we go tidalboard rafting and then out to the Coast Guard College. We're getting coaches, which will be nice, and I absolutely love hearing about the culture and love these people. So that day was one of our bigger culture days, and the Canadian ship was kind of really cool. And then the immigration museum, one of the nice things about that is a group of us started talking about like big political issues, and we're not really supposed to talk about political issues, but everyone was just talking about their own like personal beliefs and the way things work, and we had a very, very nice in-depth conversation about that at Pier 21, and now that's something in my memory that will always be interesting to hear others' opinions on that. The next day. Today was busy and relaxed. We woke up at 5 a.m. and we began to pack and took up linens. We had breakfast and then loaded the bus. We left at 6:30 a.m. for River Runners. We arrived at 8 a.m. and I talked with a Canadian the entire ride up, which was nice. We arrived and split into group. Mine was Spicer, Annie, Matthew, Axel, Amy, Pip, Aaron, and me. Our guide Chandler was pretty nice and he talked a lot. I put on sunscreen, so when it mixed with my water in my eyes, they burned the whole time. We then took a 4-hour drive to the Canadian Coast Guard College. We stopped halfway at a Big Stop, which is just a gas station, but Chan said it was iconic. The trip was scenic and I napped a lot and I sat with the Belgian guys. Because that morning we went tidalboard rafting. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically so there's this flat area of land and the tide goes out throughout the night. So in the morning it comes crashing in, and when it does, it fills like air pockets. So you take out these little skids, like you can imagine, and so when the air pockets are like filling with water, and it happens really fast. Like we were standing on land and then a second later it was covered and we'd like jump in the boats real fast. But when the tide goes up like this, you take your boat right up on top, and so then as the wave goes down, because the waves don't go up against the thing, the waves just go up. So you take it, you motor up like this, so then your boat kind of goes like a 45, 60 degree angle, and then you let go in the gas and it slams back down. So that's the process, is going up like this. It's pretty cool. I'll tell you what. Saturday was Culture Day. The morning began at 7:30 a.m. with breakfast at the Coast Guard College. Then we took an hour journey to the Fortress of Louisburg, which is a settlement castle-like town. We had a short tour and then we were off to wander. Anna and I went to the ocean line and talked and walked. Then the settlement did a cannon presentation and they did a little show. We were also inspected by them and then a group photo. Lunch was bagged and less than enjoyable. We showed each other drill movements and shared info about our programs. They were outraged by our amount of ribbons. Then we headed for Goats Island. Our tour guide was weak, but we made bread on a fire and danced. We also ate dinner there. That's hot. Once we arrived, it was straight up to the upstairs like room to see a Gaelic fiddle player, and then we awed and danced and did it again. It was awesome. So basically we had this Gaelic dancer, and now it's his profession. He played like the violin and like the Gaelic terms, and so we all were like sitting around in like all the chairs, and he would play for us, and all of us were just like staring and just like, oh, that's so amazing. And then we got up and we danced in circles, and he was like singing, and then the bagpipes were played. It was really, really cool. Sunday morning began like the rest, waking up at 7:30 a.m. for breakfast and then our tour of the Coast Guard College where we had stayed. We saw the welding station, Sims, engineering equipment, and more big stuff. Then we loaded up again for the Alexander Graham Bell Historic Site. It was about an hour to wait and we had some brief history, then off to explore. Leah and I flew kites and failed. We once again had bag lunches, which were less than enjoyable. I really hung out with Matthew, Leah, Desiree, and everyone else. We then took a 2.5-hour journey on the ferry that would take us to PEI, Prince Edward Island. It was a nice journey and I talked with Rory nearly the entire time. We got to Holland College and my roomie Shannon, who I really like. We didn't get to eat on the ferry because the line was too long, but we did go out later that night for burritos. Rory, Leah, and I just wandered and listened to jazz, window shopped, and watched the ocean. It was a good day. Monday was not a learning day, but rather a fun day. We traveled to Charlottetown to go to an amusement park, boardwalk, and the beach. We went to the beach first, and Minnie got into the water. I didn't want to get my hair all wet though, so I just messed around and took pictures. We also went on a nice walk trail. It was very nice out.
I'm so glad I don't have something this loud. Oh, look at that.
We then had a meal allowance for lunch and we went to this expensive pizza place, but it was so good. Oh my goodness. So like it was just like this little area and it was historic and there's just tons of little shops. And a big group of us, we went in to this pizza shop and I was really kind of worried because it was really expensive. It was like $20 for my meal, which US is like, it's like 17, which it's kind of ridiculous. And I think we got $15. But it was so good. I just scarfed it down. It was, oh my goodness, delicious. Then on to the amusement park. The park was small and quaint, but just right for us. We could be in groups and still see the rest of IACE and talk and mess around with each other.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
We had a nice roller coaster, then bumper cars and bumper boats, which I loved both. They were so cool. The bumper boats was just a little inner tube with like a motor in the middle, and you could like drive around and go in circles, and the group that we went with was so much fun. Oh my goodness, if you ever get the chance to play bumper boats, do it. It's so fun. Then on to the Air Cadet League for a welcome dinner. Although I didn't like who I sat with at dinner, but the dinner was pretty good. Today was a slow day. We began with breakfast at 7:30 a.m. and then headed out to our tour at 9 a.m. We did a walking tour of downtown Charlottetown and our guide Carly was pretty rad and very knowledgeable. We then had lunch at Lobster on the Wharf. That afternoon we went to the Cow's Creamery for a tour, which is a walking self-guided tour and was very, very short. Minnie just wandered and then hung out. After Cow's, went to Walmart, and Minnie had never been to a Walmart before. Then back to Holland College. We had almost 2 hours before dinner at Lobster on the Wharf, and Minnie dressed up for this, which was funny. So all these guys, there's probably 10 of them who dressed up in like suits, like button-downs, ties, some of them like dress shoes and everything, and even some of the girls. And they all like sat at this table next to each other. And then me and Anna literally wore Nike shorts, like flip-flops, and sweaters. And so walking down, there's like all these guys in suits, and then there's me and Anna just in a little who knows what. It was kind of funny. And then back to the college and we all hung out. So all night, everyone just kind of pretty much hangs out. There's like a bedtime for some of the places, and then there's like a lights out at some places, and it just kind of depends on where you are and how tired you are. But everyone just usually like plays, watch TV, sits around and talks, and then slowly everyone trickles down to bed. Wednesday was travel day. We moved from Charlottetown to Frederickton at the University of New Brunswick. We had a 3-hour drive over the Confederation Bridge, and it was a nice drive through Canada. We then went and took tours of Vector and Honeywell Aviation Industries, and then we headed to this field with fake airplanes to have a picnic and wander, and then onto the trip, and everyone was very tired and took naps. We changed buses, which was not very fun. I'm rooming with Sarah from Australia, which is very nice. And then so that night we got to a new location, and so throughout the trip we moved locations 6 times to 5 different places, and we road tripped 1,600 miles. So the bus times were something that everyone just took naps, and we sang and we talked and we sang and we napped, and it was great. Thursday was eye-opening. We woke up at 7:30 a.m. and headed 10 minutes down the road to Argonaut Training Center. We played with big trucks, robots, and suited up in anti-bomb clothes. So a bunch of the military guys just showed us a bunch of their trucks and all their equipment and stuff like that. So we played around there for a while.
Oh shit. Oh shit. No, I know it's coming for me. I know.
And had a safety briefing over our helicopter ride that we had that afternoon. Then back to the cadet side for lunch. What an odd experience. Their cadets have no intensity and totally different values to CAP. But back to the military side of the base, we finished helicopter instructions and then we waited around for the helicopter rides to happen. It was awesome. I loved it. It was so freeing and such a unique experience. Then back to the cadet side for dinner, and we had a tour of the cadet programs. Then to a Rockwell gym, grocery store, and back home. We woke and had breakfast at University of New Brunswick, just a typical morning, and then on to the governor's house. As you can imagine, everyone was very irritated by having to wear a corporate uniform. Today was also the day to be moving, as we drove from Fredericton to Moncton. She greeted us all and gave us a speech, and then we stood while she gave a very long speech, and then we talked. Then more people talked. We took our official IACE picture and then downtown Fredericton for a lunch and meal allowance. So everyone wore like a white corporate uniform, which is kind of like our blues or like a military uniform, and I had like a tie, and it's just very uncomfortable and not very fun. And we went to the governor's house, which I think for anyone who's Canadian was like, ooh, the governor's house. But for us, we're just like, we don't know who this lady is. This lady's of no importance to us. And then we had to stand there and they talked, and we saw the mountain cavalry, which was pretty cool. And they had muffins, which was also pretty cool. But then we were also stuck in that uniform for the rest of the day, and we had like a decent like 2-hour car ride. So everyone was really irritated. But me and Anna went and got sushi, and so we had a very special time together. That was very nice. It was such a bonding time, and we both got soy sauce on both our uniforms. Then everyone slept on the bus and headed to Moncton. We then toured Moncton Area Control Center and had a tour of the Air Traffic Control Center. We then met our host families. Mine was Sheena and Larry Spicer, and the fellow ambassadors were Lexi, Jack, Erica, Scott, Andrew, and me. At the host family we had pizza, and then on to another host family for a bonfire, which we did 2 nights in a row, and it was very nice. Today was entirely like the host families. They were the nicest people ever. We woke up at 9-ish and had waffles for breakfast. They were pretty good. Then on to a local market where I bought some maple syrup, and then on to a local private beach with other cadets. We mainly laid in the sun and kayaked in the ocean and sat around and played in the water, and it was very, very nice. Today is the last day with the host families. We woke up at 10ish and then we got ready to pick blueberries, which was fun. I ate so many blueberries, literally 2 pints. We then went to Gordon Falls and we walked and found this nice little swimming hole and then went cliff jumping. Super, super awesome.
Yeah. Did you touch?
Nachos were inhaled, and then we headed to the farewell picnic and headed back to Halifax. Also, one of the things we did there with the host families that I didn't mention was that we went to this place called Magnetic Hill, and you basically put your car like in neutral, and the magnet in the hill will drag your car back up the hill. So cool, so cool. And we also went to like an empty quarry and to this little silos, and I climbed up in the silos. It was also pretty cool. We woke for breakfast at 7:30 a.m. like most every day, and we headed to the Shearwater buffet, which I really like. We were supposed to go gliding or flying, but it got canceled last minute. So we had the entire morning to fill, so we just went to downtown Halifax, and a big group of us wandered, had coffee, then chilled, and then went some shopping, and then went to Boston's Pizza, which, it being called Boston's Pizza, I was like, come on, trying to rip off America. And then I went, and it was so good, so good. Muy delicioso. Boston's Pizza in Nova Scotia, or in Halifax, Nova Scotia, go there. So we had the entire morning to fill. It was so good. Then we went to a wildlife sanctuary and then saw a moose.
But it's because a cougar was walking through our halls. It's a good thing we have thick skin, because those flies would drive me absolute bonkers.
Yeah.
And then on to a bulk food store and back to Shearwater. We all just hung out and cherished every moment. Today was the last real day, and it was all sad. We had breakfast at 7:30 a.m., but just chilled until 9:45. We then walked down the road and towards Shearwater's museum thing, which is full of old planes and Canadian military history. Then back to downtown Halifax. We walked around, had more coffee, and just walked around. It was very hot, so I got ice cream, and the fair dinner was so good. It began at 6:30 with everyone in their corporate uniform, or their whites, like the professional uniform. Then we had a dinner buffet, and then speeches, paper plate awards, and then a rocking awesome dance karaoke party. We all then hugged and chilled together. The night was perfect and unforgettable. As you can imagine, that night, no one got a lot of sleep. The French began leaving at 3:30, and we had people leaving every few hours until everyone was gone. It was very bittersweet, and everyone that night was just a ball of tears. The final and worst day. The plane ride home, the final goodbyes. IACE was perfect. I miss those people too much. There's my experience with IACE. Oh, and I'm wearing my IACE shirt just to rep the United States. I don't know. Those experiences were just so incredible. And I remember my host mom, Sheena, was telling me that it is so hard for the cadets because they put you together, so many like-minded people, and it's not just throwing like random strangers together. We all have similar interests in the military, aviation, and we're all the A-type personalities. Those who want to go out and do big things with their lives, who want to work hard and make an impact. And so you put all those people with such similar ideals from different countries together, and we just love it sharing those experiences. And then we get to go do things that we've never done before, and we're literally spending every second of every day with each other. Literally, every night I had a roommate and we'd fall asleep talking. So from going from that, and you're together for 15, 17 days, something like that, to then having to hug and say goodbye, it's so hard. I went with this group chat and I'm always just like, I just want to tell them, hey, come on over. But you can't, because they live across the globe. So we had people from 11 different countries. We had Belgium, UK, US, China, Hong Kong, South Korea, New Zealand, Netherlands, Australia, Canada, and France. And the 77 of us just together was so incredible. And it wasn't even the US people hanging out with the US people. It was one day I'd be hanging out with Leah from France and Rory from New Zealand and Desiree from the Netherlands and Anna from Oregon or Andrew from Canada or Annie and Aaron and Amy from the UK. Every day was with different people and sitting on the bus with different people. Meeting everyone and sharing those experiences, it's just so incredible. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I will have one about the details of like what I packed, what I wish I would have brought, wish I would have known, the application process, all of that will come out sometime. Maybe it's already out. If it is, I'll try and put the link in the bio. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions on my experiences, I'll leave some videos, some information down below. You can check those out. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.